Oh, LG, I really wished you were in better days. So, it's so funny. Well, not their current financial situation, obviously. I mean, last, in Q4 2017, LG actually reported 10 straight quarters of losses, and they lost around $650 million last year. And so now the company is trying to revamp. They've tried making some flagship phones to compete with the likes of Samsung and Apple, and it hasn't done much for them. The LG G5, while they've made good phones, they didn't really catch on for various reasons. I know with the G5, they had this modular setup. I mean, I heard it was a good phone, but they only had a couple accessories that worked with it. There were some that didn't even work out too well, and the G5 was also prone to boot looping. And the LG G6 came out. They pretty much ditched the entire modular thing and just went for a more straightforward design. It had a glass back and was actually the first phone that I heard of that had a near bezel-less screen, but it didn't really stand out compared to the Samsung Galaxy S8. I don't think it was as powerful as it either. And so for the last couple of years LG hasn't been doing too great. And like I said before, I think LG has a lot of potential to be like a Samsung competitor. But between that and also, and I had this problem very recently, phones like their Nexus 5X, LG G4, and G5 were prone to boot looping, which for those who don't know, boot looping is basically when your phone will like start up, like you'll get that in the case of the Nexus 5X, you'll get the Google logo, but it won't boot up. Or if it does boot up, it'll just shut down very quickly. And so LG just has this reputation of not standing out, and even when they do make good phones, they're really buggy. And so um what did they bring to Mobile World Congress? They did not announce a flagship, which I think I said before in a previous video. They said that they're going to announce a flagship at a later date, and at Mobile World Congress, they basically came out with an enhanced version of their big screen flagship with the LG V30s. And this phone has 6 gigabytes of RAM. You can get it with either 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage, and you can get it in platinum gray or Moroccan blue colors, which I actually think those look really nice. I actually prefer those colors to against something like Samsung's Galaxy S9 colors. I mean, sorry guys, lilac blue is not for me. And the V30s will have this new bright mode, which combines 4 pixels in its camera to take better low light pics. So I'm guessing what they mean is it combines the power of 4 photodiodes in order to collect more light. And the V30s actually has a few AI features, like you can actually take a picture of something you want to buy on Amazon, and it's even got some what I consider scene recognition modes. Like it can tell if you're trying to take a picture of like a portrait or a sunset or food, and it optimizes the camera. And so the V30s in itself sounds like a really cool phone, but it's not exactly, and I definitely don't think LG intended this to be their next foot forward. I mean, their CEO Jo Song Jin, which I'm sorry if I butchered that, is saying they are considering rebranding their G and V series phones, and which I know they have to do it, although it's still kind of sad. And um and their mobile boss, Wong Jong Kwan. I mean, again, I'm very sorry if I'm butchering the names, and has reconfirmed that LG will announce a premium phone in the first half of 2018. And this is what he had to say, quote, "There will be an event where we will showcase a new premium model smartphone soon. But starting this year, we are trying out different strategies and will not follow rivals. We are thinking of fundamentals. for the time being, there won't be a major change. A smartphone can't be made within a couple months. There are previous roadmaps that we have drawn for new models, but there will be changes going forward. And there were reports of LG coming out with a G7, but they decided to scrap it several months back. I think they actually scrapped it right around the time of CES, which I think that's just telling me that LG's management is in a panic. I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, because I think LG has made some pretty good phones in the past, but right now I feel like they're just panicking because, like I said before, they've had financial losses, and now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do next. Because I could pretty much guarantee if they did come out with a G7 and it was just a G6 with a new processor, it's not going to do them much good. And so the really tough thing about like smartphones these days is, everybody talks about how like smartphones feel the same, particularly on Apple's end. And with companies like Samsung and LG, they're desperately trying to do something new, like having near bezel-less screens. And so I'm not really sure if like LG should keep going down the whole flagship, pricing their smartphones at like $600-700. I really feel like the only companies that can really do that are ones like Samsung and Apple, which, regardless of what you think of their phones, they do have that brand equity that lets them, sell their phones at really high prices, and, and they can still make a lot of money. Obviously, I know that, companies, they do have to sell their smartphones at a high prices in order to compensate for margins. You can't just sell a smartphone at the whatever price it takes to manufacture it, because you obviously need money for R&D and also to pay the employees that work at the company. So I think LG has a lot of potential. Like if they came back in a smartphone game like like with ZTE or OnePlus does, where they make a flagship that costs like $400 or $500, and LG has done it before. They've made beloved phones like the Nexus 5, the Nexus 4, the Nexus 5X, which I feel I technically like the 5X, but it was a slow, buggy phone. Like even when I first got it. But when it did work, I really did enjoy using that 5X. It had a really nice screen, and I was able to do a lot of like what I have to do for my work. I work at a college newspaper. I have to do a lot of live tweeting, and I also used my 5X to do things like, post to Instagram, look at the photos I've taken for my newspaper. And I really do feel like now with the G6, I didn't hear G6 and V20, I should say. I didn't hear too much about boot looping. If they can release a smartphone that performs much better, and they price it like if they compete with companies like OnePlus or Huawei or Xiaomi, I think LG could have a lot of potential. Like they have a much they're more well known. They have a much better reputation than companies like Huawei or Xiaomi. And so I feel like they would be going from competing in a really tough crowd of premium players like Samsung and Apple to competing with lower priced, if not necessarily more well known companies like OnePlus or Huawei, which, you feel what I'm saying? I think since LG is more well known than companies like that, they would have a much bigger advantage. But obviously, the first step is they're gonna have to make sure their performers are performing really good. I have absolutely nothing against Huawei, ZTE, or OnePlus. I heard they make really good phones. I'm just trying to help out LG because I really do think they have a lot of potential, and I'm hoping that if they take this different approach, and maybe even HTC, although with HTC I have some other ideas, then we could see LG, there goes my phone, finding success but in a different field. So, alright guys, this has been This has been Blood Moon Bobby. I hope you guys continue to follow more of my Mobile World Congress coverage. This weekend, I'll be covering Sony and Nokia's product announcements, and so please subscribe for more. And if you guys have want me to cover more companies, please leave a comment, or you can email me. My email address will be in the description of this video. So alright guys, thanks for watching. Hey guys, this has been a Blood Moon Bobby video. Please like this video or dislike it, and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.